So now we're recording and now we'll get started. So welcome to How to Win Free Money Through Study Abroad Scholarships. This presentation is hosted by UC Santa Cruz and UC Riverside, but obviously the information applies to students at all the UCs. We'll start by introducing ourselves. So my name is Ashley. I use she, her, ega pronouns, and I'm a UCSC Global Learning Coordinator and Advisor. When I was in college, I started off in community college and I did my first study abroad program to Mexico when I was in community college. And then when I got to the university, I decided to study in both Brazil and Argentina. And obviously, you know, those experiences completely changed my life because today I'm in a position to serve as a resource for you all seeking different study abroad and away experiences. Macy?
Hi, everyone. My name is Macy Ring. I'm an Assistant Director of Education Abroad at UC Riverside, and I've been in this role for 7 years now, and it is my pleasure to help each and all of you win money in the form of scholarships so that you can make learning abroad a reality. Sandra.
Hi everyone. So my name is Sandra Chang, and I'm actually a current fourth year at UCR, majoring in business administration. And I'm actually a Gilman Scholarship recipient, scholarship that we'll be talking about today. And I did study abroad in spring 20 over at Singapore, and it was really fun. And I'm excited to tell you more about tips on how to get this scholarship.
Thank you so much, Sandra. We're really excited to be able to invite Sandra here to share her experience applying to and winning a scholarship because, you know, we could talk to you all till we're blue in the face, but, you know, we don't have kind of that, you know, peer experience. So we look forward to hearing what you have to say later on, Sandra. Thank you. But before we get started, we shared a little bit about us. So now we want to know a little bit about you all. So we're going to go ahead and launch some polls to kind of read the room a little bit. I have to admit, I'm not the most technologically savvy person in the world, so please bear with me as I do this. But hopefully you all can see question one. We're wondering, okay, so we're here to talk about winning money through scholarships, but why, you know, do you want to study abroad or away? You can pick however many answers that you want, but we want to make sure that we can address anything, you know, that you guys share with us. So we're hoping, you know, the majority of you vote on what are your motivations for pursuing a study abroad or away experience. Okay, I don't think everyone's participated, but that's fine. We have more than 50%. So I'm gonna end the poll and share the results. So let's see, it seems like the top motivation to study abroad or away is either to experience another culture. Let's see, some said to increase self-confidence. That's an absolute result of participating in a study abroad or away experience. You do find yourself being very independent and growing a lot as a result of, you know, the adjustment to living in another culture. We have to have a global experience before graduating. And yeah, all of these, I mean, at least one or a few of you chose all of the answers, and by participating in study abroad or away, you can kind of do all of these, learn about your academic discipline from another cultural perspective. You could conduct research or field work. So we'll talk about that here soon. Now I'm going to launch a second question. We looked kind of at motivations, but what are some maybe hesitations or, you know, factors you think might impact your ability to be able to study abroad or away? We recognize that some of you may have already applied to a program. Some of you may, you know, just still be in the exploratory process. But we're just wondering, what are some, you know, factors that kind of would impact your ability to pursue this opportunity? Give you guys just a couple of minutes to respond. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So this is comes as no surprise, but finances is a huge, can serve as a huge barrier that students need to overcome when pursuing this kind of experience. How the heck do you pay for the program, right? Obviously there's other, many other concerns the student might have from, housing, whether it's like, having housing on campus or, at your institution when you get back from the program, housing while you're on the program, graduating on time, a variety of other things. But we always see finances serving as the biggest barrier or factor that impacts a student's ability to study abroad or away, which is why we're offering a session today on, how to win free money so that these experiences are more accessible and attainable. And now I'm going to ask just one more question of you all. Let's see. Have any of you ever applied for any type of scholarship, whether you got it or not? We're just wondering what kind of experiences, the audience has right now in terms of, do you know what the scholarship application process is like? Okay, we have over 50%. So I'm going to end the poll, share results. So it looks, from those who responded, 83% have some type of experience applying to a scholarship. This could be a scholarship for a study abroad or away experience, or even getting into, the UC or other opportunities, of course. But it's good to know that you guys might have some experience, not everyone, but today we will be going in depth about the whole application process. So thanks everyone for participating in the poll. We just wanted to read the room a little bit. So I guess before we kind of start diving into the different scholarship opportunities that exist, we just want to look at first, why even pursue study abroad or away in the first place? Obviously, you might hear from your campus study abroad offices the many benefits, but we want to highlight some of those here with you all today. So the first, reason why a student might, pursue a study abroad or away experience is looking at, the academic benefits. Participating in study abroad or away really allows you to complement your UC studies. I have a list of bullet points here, but some that I'll just kind of highlight is one, you get to gain a global perspective on your academic discipline. Obviously, we're in the US, and so we have a westernized way of teaching, so I think it's really interesting when you go into another culture and you learn a different pedagogy. I think it allows you to have a more holistic experience in your field of study. For any program that's a UC program, you could receive, major, minor, or GE credit. Obviously, every department has their own petition process for this, but if you participate in a UC program, you automatically get UC credit. And then a lot of students go abroad or away to learn a new language and practice with native speakers. I can say when I was an undergrad, I was a Latin American Latino Studies and Spanish double major and a Portuguese minor. So everywhere that I went to study abroad were places in which I could practice the languages that I was learning in school. I feel like you learn so much more, even outside of the classroom than sometimes within the classroom itself. Another reason why you might want to have a global experience is to be able to confirm your calling. So, if you participate in a global learning program, it's not, there are more opportunities outside of just studying. You could do an internship, you could do research, or, a service learning experience, all of which would go on your resume. It really allows you to clarify your own interests and life goals. As I mentioned earlier, I'm in the position I am today as a result of studying abroad as an undergrad. I can say I had no idea what I wanted to do with my degrees when I was, pursuing higher education. I just knew I liked learning what I was learning. And by studying abroad, it really made me realize I want to support other students who are thinking about pursuing these experiences. As a first generation, low income, transfer student of color, I did not have a lot of support. And in fact, I didn't know about any scholarships to study abroad with. So I got myself in a lot of debt just because I took out a lot of loans in order to, participate in these experiences. So I'm so happy and grateful to be able to be in the position where I can make sure that you don't have to kind of suffer through the same thing I did. And then finally, by participating in a global experience, you really get to embark on a journey of self-discovery. We saw earlier in the poll results that many of you said, one of your motivations is just to like have an increased sense of self-confidence. And of course, I feel like just by like moving your body to, cultural territories that you're not used to, it's quite empowering to kind of learn all of these different cultural nuances by yourselves, of course, maybe with peers, but it's a personal learning experience too. So by embarking on this journey, you get to learn how to adapt to a new culture, language, and lifestyle, which helps build self-esteem, which helps empower you. You develop so many different relationships. When I studied abroad, every experience I chose to stay in a homestay. That's where you live with a local family, because I really wanted to get that like immersive experience. And the relationships I gained with my host parents, I still have those relationships today. So when I went back to Argentina, I got to, have dinner with my host family again. We keep in touch with each other on Facebook. So not only like that family experience, but all of the friends that I made while I was on my programs are still good friends of mine today. So developing just all different kinds of relationships, I think is an impactful part of the experience, but also it really allows you just to build resilience to face any challenge that comes your way. There will be a variety of different challenges that you'll experience during your program. And these aren't, things to like look at in a negative way. Sometimes challenge yourself is really good and helps you, grow as an individual and just, it allows you to just learn, right? Like study abroad or away, that the main word is study, right? So you're learning a lot, both inside and outside of the classroom. So now we're going to go into looking at scholarship opportunities themselves. And after we look at the different scholarship opportunities available to you all, we'll talk about how to really like make yourself a strong candidate and stand out from, other applicants of these scholarships. But first we want to look at, who are scholarships targeting? So I would say a lot of the different scholarship opportunities that exist right now really serve to diversify the students who are accessing and participating in these kinds of experiences, because as you guys noted, like finances is a huge concern, right? And because of that, historically, study abroad in a way almost was exclusive to people from, higher income backgrounds. And so right now we're really trying to, debunk the myth that study abroad is only for a certain group of people. It's for everyone. Financial aid goes with you, and many scholarships go with you too. So looking at who they're targeting, as I mentioned, students who have been historically underserved in these kinds of opportunities and historically underrepresented. So here's a list of who those, some of those student populations are. We have first generation college students, minoritized groups, even like STEM majors, students with disabilities, etc. Scholarships also target students going to non-traditional locations. So basically, when we say non-traditional location, that tends to be anywhere outside of Europe. So places, in Asia, in Africa, in South America. Nationally, we see the large majority of our students going to different countries in Europe, and Europe is a beautiful continent. There are so many, different countries, and it's really easy to kind of get around the continent, to go to different places, and that's great, right? But there are so many cool opportunities outside of Europe, and we've seen a really big increase in students going to Asia, which we're really happy about. But if you do go to like that non-traditional location, know that there may exist additional funding for you. So now looking at some of these scholarships themselves. First, we're going to start with the Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship. This is the scholarship that Sandra won and we'll talk to you about here soon. But the goal of the Gilman is to broaden the population that studies and interns abroad by supporting American undergraduate students who might otherwise not participate due to financial constraints. You can see what the eligibility is here for the Gilman. Gilman is a national scholarship, meaning students all across the US can apply for it. And the main eligibility criteria is that you receive a federal Pell Grant. Because again, looking at the goal, they really want to send students abroad who have historically not been able to due to financial constraints. And the way that the Gilman is determining a student who has financial constraints is if they receive a federal Pell Grant. Obviously, there's a whole list of other eligibility criteria, but I'd say that is the most important one. And then Gilman actually has two different types of scholarships. So there's the regular Gilman scholarship that awards students of up to $5,000. That's a significant amount. There's about 3,000 scholarships awarded a year. So while it is a very competitive scholarship, there does exist the opportunity. I can even say at UCSC, we see about 45% of our students who apply receive the scholarship. And we're always happy to help like review essays. And I would imagine, your study abroad office representatives would be happy to review your essays as well. The money that you get from the Gilman can be used towards academic year program, fall program, quarter program, semester program, summer program. So any term, the final award amount is not actually $5,000. That will be really determined based off of the financial need, the program length, and the overall program cost and how strong your essays are. And we'll talk here soon about how to craft a strong essay. And the cool thing with the Gilman is this is one of those awards that also look to provide opportunities to students going to non-traditional locations. The way that they kind of phrase this is students who are studying non-traditional languages. And so if you were studying a language like Portuguese or Japanese or Mandarin, etc., you have the opportunity to submit an extra essay and win an additional $3,000. So if you were studying one of these critical need languages, you could actually win up to $8,000. Now, Gilman also offers scholarship opportunities to students who are dependents of active duty service members and active duty service members themselves. This is a separate scholarship from the regular scholarship, and that's up to $5,000. The next scholarship is called the Fund for Education Abroad. This is another national scholarship that students across the US can apply to. The goal of this scholarship is to provide, scholarships and ongoing support to students who are underrepresented among the US study abroad population. Earlier, when we looked at who the scholarships are targeting, we saw a lot of those students from those underrepresented groups. Eligibility for this scholarship is based on, you must be a US citizen or permanent resident. You have to be currently enrolled as an undergraduate at time of the application. The study abroad program must be eligible for credit. So as long as you're receiving credit for the program, you're good. And it has to be at least 4 weeks. I know that sometimes there's like 2-week programs, like during breaks, or even some summer programs, which might be less than 4 weeks. If your program was less than 4 weeks, then unfortunately you wouldn't be eligible. Another thing about this scholarship, I will say it is pretty competitive, but again, as long as you work with your study abroad office advisors, to ensure that, you're crafting a strong essay, opportunity exists for you to win it. It's not impossible. Now, with these awards, they're also up to $5,000. So looking at Gilman and FEA, if you won both of those, that's already $10,000, right? Their financial need is a determinant for the award, and this is based off of a financial aid form that you would submit with the application. They also, again, you saw the goal was they want to target students from underrepresented groups. So they do take demographic factors into consideration, including, first generation college student status, if you're from a minoritized group, if you are a transfer student or attended a community college. And then looking at the essays themselves, you know, one of the essay questions is really about your academic plan and preparedness for your program. But outside of the essays, they also ask you to submit an unofficial transcript and a letter of recommendation. This is, I know I'd say other scholarships require letters of recommendation, but this is the first one that we're going to be looking at. And I think the only one that we'll be looking at that might require that, but don't hold me to that. The next scholarship opportunity we're going to look at are UC EAP scholarships. So UC EAP is short for the University of California Education Abroad Program. This is a system-wide study abroad provider, meaning students from all UCs can participate in UC EAP's programs. Maybe some of you have, you know, been looking at UC EAP programs. Maybe some of you have even applied to a UC EAP program. That's great. On these programs, you would be with students from all of the UCs. And the great thing about UC EAP is that they also, you know, offer scholarships to students participating in their program. So obviously, like a huge part of the eligibility is you must be participating in a UC EAP program. But the goal of their scholarships is to provide UC students with going on an outbound program with alternative forms of funding. So looking at eligibility, of course, you have to be participating in UC EAP program. You have to be enrolled and pursuing a degree at the UC. They ask that you maintain good academic standing, which, you know, from the time that you apply to the time that you depart on your program. And some scholarships, because they have a broad range of scholarships. It's not just one. They do have the UC EAP Global Scholarship, which is probably their main one, but there are a variety of other scholarships and they might have different requirements. For example, they have the Dutton-Haver Award. This is for students going on a year-long program. It's $5,000. And that actually does have a letter of recommendation, which is why earlier I said, don't hold me to what I'm saying because I got to think through these things. But basically, the max award for a UCAP scholarship is up to $5,000. The award selection is based on academic merit and the integration of a selected UCAP program into your academic and career goals. Here in a bit, Macy will talk about, you know, crafting that strong essay. And one thing that I think she's going to really kind of drive home is, you know, ensuring that when you write these essays, you know, the reviewers don't know you from Adam or Eve, right? Like we don't know anything about you. So it's your job to tell us your story and why this, you know, experience that you're pursuing is really going to shape, you know, whatever academic, personal, or career goals you have. UCAP also kind of might prioritize students who show that they have financial need, although there is no financial aid form or anything required. So if you write a strong essay, you know, no matter what your financial background is, you have a good opportunity at you know, gaining one of these awards. But they also do, you know, look at students from underrepresented backgrounds, because again, the goal of many of these scholarships is to diversify who is actually going on these programs and is that reflective of our UC population. Macy, take it away.
Wow, thank you so much, Ashley. Lots of information here, you guys. And again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're just highlighting a few of many scholarship opportunities out there. These are the ones that are the predominantly popular ones for education abroad opportunities. And again, this presentation will be emailed to you and or posted on your campus study abroad website. So you can refer to this later. But I tried as best as I could to answer your questions that you guys are posting in the chat box. And if we don't answer them, we will have some time at the end, and you can certainly contact us as well. We are very happy to answer any questions that weren't covered here today. But another opportunity here is the Freeman Asia Scholarship for those students who are thinking about studying at anywhere in Asia. So what you're seeing across all these different scholarships is there's variation in their eligibility requirements. So it's very important that you're looking closely at what you are eligible to apply for, right? So for example, someone asked earlier, you don't receive the Pell Grant, so therefore you shouldn't apply to the Gilman, unfortunately, but there may be there are certainly other opportunities. So check out our presentation later, but also connect with your campus study abroad office as well. Okay, so and the awards, as you can tell, do vary from scholarship to scholarship and within scholarships too. So you can receive on the Freeman Asia up to $3,000 for the summer, up to $5,000 for the semester, and up to $7,000 for if you're participating on a year-long program. And if it wasn't said before, we encourage all students to apply to multiple scholarships. And if it wasn't apparent, it's a separate application. All of these scholarships have their own application portal, their own requirements, and their own deadlines. Okay, so it's really on you to understand what those are. And the deadlines tend to align with the deadline to apply to a program. So if you want to learn more, please consult with your campus study abroad office. Ashley, next slide, please. So those are just a sampling of the opportunities out there. There are plenty others. We're going to give you just like a dumping list of other possibilities, okay? Just to give you, a sense that there is a lot of support out there for students to engage in these kinds of opportunities on top of your regular financial aid, okay? So no matter what your situation, whether you have financial aid or not, there is a scholarship for everyone. There are also merit-based scholarships. And there are additional resources, search engines to look for scholarships such as FastWeb, non-UC partner scholarships, even through your academic department or college. They might even have a unique scholarship opportunity for your major. Okay, so doing the research early to seek these opportunities, and again, engaging with your home campus study abroad office to get started if you're not sure where to start. But we're happy that you've started here to learn about these opportunities. So what makes a competitive scholarship applicant, right? Again, Ashley was saying, you want to tell your story. Everyone has a unique story, and you want to create and weave a story that's going to help you stand out from the competition, okay? And that story starts with the very beginning of this presentation. Why do you want to learn abroad, right? So what all of these scholarship applications have in common are these very central themes. They may be phrasing their scholarship prompts in using different words, but they're really all asking you very similar questions. Who are you? Why do you want to do this? Where are you going? How are you doing it? And why? If you can't answer those very basic questions, then it's going to be really hard for you to approach any scholarship essay. Okay, so again, understanding that you have a unique background. What is your background? Ashley mentioned earlier that the goal of many of these scholarships is to help traditionally underrepresented students to learn abroad. So help the reader know who you are so that you don't come off as a basic applicant, right? The goal of this session is to encourage you to be very specific about your identity, your background, your story, your perspective. So that's first. And in addition to that, what else makes you different is through your actions, right? So what other experiences have you engaged with in the past or currently, right? To set you, again, apart from the crowd. So have you learned abroad previously? Are you engaging right now in an on-campus student organization or club? Do you have a leadership role? Are you engaged in an internship right now, undergraduate research? Are you an honors student? Are you part of a first-year learning community? What are these other things that you're doing now as a UC student, right? They want to know, again, what makes you you, and who are you, and what are those other experiences that led you up to this point to decide, I want to learn abroad to further refine myself in these ways. And that's related to how are you preparing. So it's okay if you haven't been as engaged as you would like, but how are you preparing for a possible study abroad experience, right? Are you learning your host country's language? Are you taking classes at your campus to help you prepare? Are you part of a language learning circle? Are you volunteering with the International Students Office? You know, whatever is the case, are you doing research about your host country and program? You want to demonstrate your maturity and that you're goal oriented. And to do that is through action, right? What are you doing to prepare yourself for the possibility of learning abroad? And lastly, but very also important, are what are your academic goals, your personal goals, and your professional goals? And how does it all relate to your chosen program, to your chosen country? You want to demonstrate to the reader that there's no other country or program that makes better sense than this country, right? So this next slide is a visual representation of what I just talked about. So hopefully that gives you a visual sense that all of these things must connect. If you attended the Gilman workshop from earlier, they just talked about the Gilman, and a theme that they were talking about in that session was making connections. It's very important that students are making those connections in their writing. Okay, so you really want to be clear about your reasons, like who you are, right? And your reasons for choosing a particular program and country, right? And this is otherwise an exercise I would do one-on-one with a student just to get some gears turning. But, you know, start thinking about all of these pieces, these elements, and how do they intersect with one another. And you need, again, if you remember anything from this session, is to be very specific in your writing. Someone who writes an essay that says, I'm going to go to, you know, South Korea because I think it's amazing and it's going to be, you know, I'm going to learn a lot about K-pop and K-drama. That's fun and everything, but that student's probably not likely to win a scholarship. Okay. What the reader wants to know is, have you done your research to understand that this is the program and country you want to go to and why? And also what stands out a great deal in terms of like points, it's a pointing system, right? When you have a reader reading hundreds of essays, we have to try to refine the process in a way to review them pretty quickly, right? It's just like applying to a job. Like you have to use keywords. A major keyword here is your professional goals. So many students neglect to talk about their professional goals. Even if you change your mind later on what you want to do in life, that's fine. But for the purposes of standing out in your essay, we want to see that you are talking about your future and how does learning abroad impact it in a positive way. So please talk about your professional goals because that will earn you so many points, as well as, you know, discussing your personal background as well. Because again, you want to, the more specific you are about yourself and the direction you're going, the more points you're going to receive. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, so just continuously reiterating things. Step one, again, brainstorm your goals, understand those connections. Only you can answer those questions, right? So help the reader understand who you are and what you're trying to do and where you're going. And that means connecting your background, your previous experience, your preparation activities, and all your goals to your chosen program and host country. Be very specific. Again, examples are, you know, Yonsei University has XYZ courses. So you're going to name drop those course titles. These are courses not offered at UCR. This is why I want to go there. There's a faculty member or professor that is teaching at Yonsei University that I really want to go and do some research with or, you know, learn more from. Okay, again, you want to reiterate to the reader that these are the reasons why you've chosen your program. Number two, even though we're broadly speaking about themes that all of these scholarships questions and prompts have in common. You still want to make sure that you read very closely the individual prompts that are provided by the scholarship. What we're trying to do here is help you to understand that you can apply to multiple scholarships, and understanding that all of them have very basic themes in common, right? Again, the who, what, where, why, when, right? But you still want to make sure that you read very closely the prompts for each scholarship. And very important is starting early, right? But also making sure that you proofread and include revisions in your writing process. This is very important, and it really does say a lot about someone's writing. We really can tell between a student who wrote something yesterday and a student who, took some time to really refine and make sure their writing is concise. Okay, so proofreading, very important. Have someone, your writing center, your study abroad advisor, a friend or a family member, someone other than you, proofread your work. All right, and this slide, this is just a note on those scholarships like the Gilman and the Freeman Asia, and Sandra will talk a little bit about her Gilman experience, but some scholarship essays or applications require a second or a third essay, and it's nothing to be scared of. They just want a little bit more information in a paragraph or two about your ideas on how you're going to contribute to the local communities abroad, and how you're going to contribute when you come back to your home campus. All right. So when we say free money, nothing in life is free. And so you're paying in terms of your time, right? So they're going to give you, $5,000. So how are you going to pay them back is through promoting education abroad and their scholarships. So I don't think that's a terrible deal in my opinion, because you get to share with your peers the amazing opportunity you took advantage of and how to get there as well. So my only points here is, to be mindful of target audiences, both abroad and at home. So again, understanding that the mission of a lot of these scholarships is mutual understanding, and targeting underrepresented students, underrepresented communities. So if you're talking about your project idea about how to get more students to learn abroad, again, think about the mission and goal of that scholarship originally, right? Is to get more students like you to learn abroad. So maybe your target audience is first generation Hispanic students, right? You want those students to know about these opportunities early so that they can start planning ahead of time. You just want to demonstrate to the reader here that you're being mindful of specific groups of people, and you're being mindful about feasible project ideas that you can reasonably do and happily do. It's not this crazy project, but it's something manageable. An example project idea is simply, you can talk about volunteering with your home campus education abroad office. Sandra was one of our volunteers when she came back, and she helped to outreach to specific groups of students during her year with us. So it can be as simple as that. So being mindful of target audiences and being realistic with your project idea. And again, reiterating the importance of proofreading and the revision process. Grammarly is very helpful. If you don't know about it, you can download it and put it in your browser and call it a day. It's very useful. Making a tutoring appointment with your campus writing center, connecting with us or your campus education abroad advisor. I love to help my students proofread their writing, and so does Ashley. Ask one of us. We've been through it all, so we know what these scholarship committees are looking for. At minimum, please ask a friend or family member. And so I hope that was very helpful, but let's hear it from the pro. Sandra, she studied at UCEAP for a semester in Singapore and was the recipient of the prestigious Gilman Scholarship. So I'll let you share your tips now, Sandra. Thank you. Go ahead, Sandra. Sorry about that.
You are good. Hi, everybody. And just some tips, I guess, for the first question. What are my overall tips on developing specifically for Gilman, just because they have the personal statement and follow-on service? Personally, for me, it was more about doing my research. I think that's the most important thing, and also understanding that yes, this is also giving you an opportunity, but you are also providing an opportunity for others when you come back. It's a full circle kind of experience, and they want to learn that and know that you are willing to put in the effort even when your study abroad experience is over. So specifically for my personal statement, what I wrote, I kind of put some notes down just to think outside the box. I went to Singapore, specifically, and I actually wanted to work in the hospitality industry. So what I wrote in my essay was that it was super important for me because Singapore is a tourist location. They have a lot of touristy hotels, and just to see that atmosphere and to understand what it was like, I thought it was super important. Additionally, I also did my research on the host university clubs and class structure. Um, as you know, Asian schooling is very different from US. So just to reiterate that and say, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to able to switch that type of learning and also the type of clubs. And we all have social media, I'm sure. Find those clubs that you're interested, write about them in your essay, and it'll be super important, and they see that you care and that you're putting effort in your essay. And just like Macy said, talking even about the classes that your study abroad program university offers. So specifically for mine, they actually offered a class called Food in Japan. We don't have that at UCR, sadly, and it was a great class. So just to talk even more about that. Additionally, about the follow-on service project, just like Macy said, I also did an amazing opportunity called Goalies, which it was a study abroad ambassador program to help other students prepare or learn more about study abroad. You may be surprised, maybe your school even has that opportunity or more, whether it be tabling or even doing a class presentation about it, or maybe even advertising it online as well. And I do think there's also an opportunity where you could do videos. And I know for during the Gilman Scholarship, they also had an opportunity for you to teach a class and for them to learn more about your host country. As for the second question, how did receiving a study abroad scholarship make a difference for me? It made an amazing difference, actually. I was currently working as a barista at the time and was getting some savings, but as you know, minimum wage job, it's not that much money. So I actually talked to my financial aid advisor for specifically study abroad. I think that's super important. Just as a heads up tips for anyone who is thinking about it seriously. But with that, I was able to learn that I only had a few thousand left over that I did not think I would be able to reach in time. So pretty much with this scholarship, it actually covered the exact amount I needed, which was really cool. It was very helpful, and I was pretty much able to pay my study abroad experience full ride, which is amazing. It was a great opportunity. And I guess what were some of the successes, personal or academic, I experienced during my study abroad program in Singapore? I think the overall, most people would say the food, visiting other countries. I was able to visit Bali and Malaysia. That was amazing. It was really fun. And then food, it was also amazing, hawker stands. But I think the most important was the self-growth. The time that I went, it was the beginning of the COVID pandemic. So that was a real learning experience, I'm sure, as everyone who's been dealing with that when they were still in the US. But during my time over there, just not knowing what was happening and also being told that I now have to end my study abroad experience halfway and I now have to find a plane ticket all of a sudden. It's very stressful, but overall, I learned how to manage my time and my self growth, like I just said. And I think these are super important, like verbs or attributes that you could easily put in your essay as well. And I did see a question, the ballpark estimate of my total expenses. I believe it was 15 to 20,000, I believe. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember. Sorry. It's been a while. But I do want to say that it is different for every study abroad program, especially if you do with UCEAP or even with an outside organization.
Yes, while you're absorbing that next question, Sandra, yes, I want to reiterate again that expenses will vary from not only program to program, but student to student. There can be students who are more frugal than others, and then students who are spenders, and everyone in between. So please don't use Sandra or any student's experience as a unit of measurement, but to take more time instead to explore all the different options out there and to figure out, build up your own financial literacy by working with your financial aid office at your campus and your study abroad advisor at your campus. Sandra.
Yeah, for sure. And for the other question from Christopher, what I specifically wrote, I actually have my essay right next to me. So pretty much I wrote who I was, what school I went to, and what exact university I went to. And I also wrote about why I picked Singapore. So my exact sentence, the reason behind picking Singapore is that it's my schedule and enhances my business hospitality industry and me being interested. Singapore's balanced economy and the wealth equated to 323.9 billion. So I wrote facts in my essay also. Additionally, I wrote how my objective is to also join
Yeah, it looks like
the exact clubs that you could attend. Can you guys hear me?
sorry, Sandra, you're cutting out a little bit. But is it okay, Sandra, if we share your, oh, I think we lost her. If students, you're interested to connect with Sandra, I'll ask her if it's okay for us to share her email with you and you can reach out to her directly. But also ask your campus study abroad advisors may know of local students at your campus who have applied and won similar scholarships, so they can also connect you with those students as well. But what Sandra was saying, very simply again, is being specific in your writing. Sandra was very specific about her, reasons for going to National University of Singapore, and that meant demonstrating that you did your research to understand where you're going and talking about it in your essay. It's not enough for you to say, I'm going to South Korea. It's not enough for you to even say, I'm going to Yonsei University, but that you're going to Yonsei University in South Korea because they're known for XYZ, they have these classes, etc. You really want to be specific. And that's what Sandra did, and that's how she stood out.
So thank you so much, everyone, for kind of, bearing with us with different technological difficulties and others. We want to open the floor for you all. If you have any remaining questions, obviously Sandra's not here to be able to answer any questions you might have about her experience in particular. But if you have any questions for Macy and I about anything that was presented today, please feel free to ask them now. I saw you guys have been asking questions throughout in the chat, which is awesome. But we want to serve as resources for you all now. if we can, provide any additional information. So feel free to unmute yourself or put questions in the chat. We're here for another 7 minutes. So yeah, I see that Joseph Rivera raised their hand.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for the presentation. It was very informative. And so I'm wondering, so my expected graduation date is the spring of 2022. So when should I let my major advisor know that I would like to extend that expected graduation date to fall of 2022 so I can study abroad in fall 2022?
Yeah, so I can kind of tackle that. So just to get this right, Joseph, your expected graduation date is the end of this academic year, but you'd like to extend that so that you can study in the fall. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I guess there's a few things. And it depends if you receive financial aid as well in order to, get funding for a 5th year. But typically, in order to extend, you should be working towards some type of requirement, whether that's a GE requirement, a major requirement, a minor requirement, because if you finished everything for your major, if you've completed, everything you need to obtain your degree, then the school's like, well, you should be graduating right now, right? I would,
I feel like I should have added, because this is a very important point. I'm a transfer student, and so that's why I kept hearing that transfer students are able to get that extra 5th year, even if they're able to finish all their stuff in the spring of 2022.
Yeah, well, because you're thinking about studying abroad next fall, I know on our campus applications are opening next month. And I think at other UCs, we follow more or less similar deadlines. So if you'd want to apply for a fall program, you'd probably need to start applying this quarter at the latest winter quarter, but definitely start this quarter. So I would talk to your major advisor as soon as possible, just so you don't miss whatever next fall's deadline is for the program that you want to go on.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
We have another question from Cindy. She's willing, she doesn't have a lot of the experiential background compared to other students, and that's totally okay, Cindy, and anyone else who might be concerned about that. But instead, to compensate for that, you want to demonstrate that you're doing your research, right? To know everything there is about your host country and the program that you're applying to. All right. So again, why do you want to go there? And talking about the reasons why in your writing. Okay. So, and that's fine. Again, you want to be specific about, who you are as an individual. But if you don't have a lot of experiential background, again, that's fine. But how are you preparing, right, from today moving forward, right, to engage in this kind of experience?
Yeah, maybe you're taking a language class to prepare you for, study in another country. Maybe you're taking a class that you need to take that might help prepare, allow you to enroll in an upper div course while you're on your program. There's multiple ways that you might be preparing for this experience.
And Iga had a question, what level and kind of research should you do? So again, I'm going to keep using my Korea example. If you're thinking Yonsei University, what's so cool about Yonsei University, right? Over any other university in the world, and South Korea has a lot of universities, but what makes Yonsei University special? What makes it unique? Why do you want to go there, right? So that level of research, and also why South Korea in general. So if you're a business major, maybe your reason is you want to learn more about the automobile industry there is very different from anywhere else in the world. So you can write about that in your essay. So again, that requires going online, going to research in books about the pros of a particular country.
And I also want to ask really quick before we leave, Sandra, thank you for rejoining. I think a student, Amir, had asked, like, what were some of the obstacles you faced during the application process? I thought that was a really great question. So I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing that with everyone.
Yeah, of course. Disregard my video is off just for Wi-Fi reasons. I would say make sure to check your deadlines. They're super important and they are there for a reason. And if you miss a deadline, you will get screwed over. For example, for me, I actually did not realize the medical requirements of making sure I get all my vaccinations and making sure that the doctors gave approval for me to go overseas. So just to make sure you meet all those deadlines and prepare ahead. They do say you should prepare for a study abroad experience a year in advance, and I think that is very true. So I guess that would be my word of advice.
And then I think the second was, maybe what were some of the obstacles you experienced during your time in Singapore?
Yeah, of course. I would say my obstacles, I would feel like they're mostly COVID related, just because I knew I had some friends who had to change their dorm rooms just because their original room was now being used by COVID patients, just because our university had a hospital attached to it. So they needed places to put patients. So kind of just rearranging my life and doing online school since January of 2020. I think that was a real experience and just understanding how to navigate all of that.
Sandra, is it okay if we share your email address with students here today?
Yeah, of course, no problem. I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. Oh, Iga, you have a good question. We cannot talk on behalf of the other people reviewing your essays that they do any kind of social media background check. I'm not aware that that happens. All that's reviewed is what you submit. So, your online application, your essays. They might ask for a LinkedIn, but that's not usually what they ask for unless you supply it.
Yeah, and maybe I spoke out of turn. Maybe I shouldn't have said like a hard no period. But I've served in a lot of the scholarship review committees that we kind of looked at today, and I was never made aware that they would look at a student's social media profile, because again, they're looking through hundreds of applications to find, strong candidates for the scholarships. That would take a lot of time to have to do that. So I think for the most part, you wouldn't have to worry. Any final questions? I know we're a few minutes over. I think there's one more question. What if the student has family, like a single parent? So definitely for many of our, there are plenty of program opportunities that allow students to kind of bring their dependents if needed. In fact, UC EAP has a recommended list of programs for students, but that's also another underrepresented student group is students with dependents. And so I think talking about what the experience would be like, bringing any dependents that you might have on this program would definitely make you kind of stand out as a candidate for one of these scholarships, because that student group is so underrepresented.
Exactly. That is a unique story to share in your writing.
Yeah, and then we have one other question. Is it required to take classes while doing study abroad? Yeah, so the whole point of study abroad is kind of to study, right? Like you could go abroad on your own and go on a vacation and have a wonderful time, and you wouldn't have to do any classes with that. But for any study abroad program that you go on offered by the UC, you're earning academic credit. And in order to earn that academic credit, you need to be taking classes.
Exactly. And as it applies to scholarships, a lot of these scholarships require that you're enrolled in an academic bearing program. Okay, so it's very important that, you know, we're only talking about education abroad and not just traveling. So if you want to travel and not take classes, you can do that on your own time. But we're talking about education abroad programs where you're earning academic credit and scholarships. These scholarships are only available to those students enrolled in academic credit abroad programs.
So we're a little bit over. We really appreciate everyone who stayed so far. And yeah, never hesitate to reach out to any of us. Our contact info is in the chat or your study abroad offices to learn more about different scholarship opportunities you'd be able to apply to. So thank you so much, everyone. We really
Thank
appreciate your
you.
time.
Good luck, and we hope to see you soon.